The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
I did hear that they were coming through necessary media.
Because it's necessary. Necessary media.
Funny.
Necessary media. Because it's necessary.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. I am your host and friend, Michael DeOliveira, ushering in the necessary era every Wednesday here live on Comcast Channel 95. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we got to get that subscription up. We got to get friends, family, and everybody out there aware of the show, grow the support, and we can take this thing from a half-hour show to an hour show as soon as possible. Now, as I've been trying to tell you every other week, we got a couple big things going on, and I've taken it upon myself to try to get some things coordinated for the future faster. So basically, it's getting a little easier to get guests in here. So, and speaking of guests, I believe, hey, intern, I think we got a guest at the door. We got a guest?
You're so funny.
I don't know if the door's locked. Intern, you can open it for him. It's all right. Adam locked the... Oh, man. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I said, this is the problem with interns. You help them out, but easy come, easy go. There's a line of interns. Jake, do we have a problem with it? Or are we going to be able to open the door? I don't know. No, door's locked. All right, Jake, just pry it. I'll get back. We don't need to put the camera on it. Just pry it. So, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Never mind. All right, we got a guest. I don't know what was going on with the door, but we finally got our guest in. So, thanks to the interns. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we can. I'm having some. All right, transition A+.
Oh,
ladies and
God.
gentlemen, we have City Councilor Linda Pereira on.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you for being here today. I don't know if you know, there's a budget situation going on. We had a pretty long meeting last night.
Last night, the week before, they have been.
Now that's your
extensive.
job to go through that, right?
Sure.
Okay. I went through it for the fun of it. So I was up all night watching this thing because I don't know, again, everybody out there, I do have this show, so I figured I should probably be prepared. So instead of trying to catch the replay, I watched it live. Was it 6 hours? I think it was about a 6 hour thing.
Many hours.
And we still got, we're not even counting what happened before, like the other previous days leading up to this, and I believe you have another one coming up next week?
Tuesday
Tuesday
the 28th.
Okay, which would be the final one for this before we hit a pretty crazy point?
Tuesday's a full council meeting.
Now is Tuesday the final determining day before hitting any, in other words, before we hit that point, which I believe would be July 1st, is Tuesday the last meeting before that, or if need be, would there be another one?
There could be a special meeting at any time.
Okay. And I say that because last night it was voted down. And
Correct.
I mean, to keep this simple, the three councilors who voted for it were Long, Joe Camara, and Pam LeBeau. So the other six had voted it down. Now, we're going to get into a lot of stuff with it. So I don't know if you want to just give your general opinion, and then I can probably lean off that and go into some questions. But what would be your general opinion of the budget as a whole?
My general opinion of the budget as a whole, the format of the budget was pretty good. Not as detailed as other budgets in the past that were much thicker and everything was itemized a little bit differently. It was an easy budget to read. Let me tell you some of the concerns that I have. You're going to come in with a budget, and the budget is $10 million more than it was last year because it's $255 this year.
Yep.
However, you need to make sure that everything is being funded appropriately. The concerns that I have, I'll take the purchasing department, okay? We have a woman who's acting purchasing agent at this time. Our purchasing agent left and went over to the Housing Authority.
Yeah.
So in the budget for the purchasing department, you have the acting purchasing agent with their salary, and that person did get a little bit more money for being acting, and you have a clerk. There's no money in that budget to hire a purchasing agent this year. So are we not going to hire a purchasing agent? And if we did have a purchasing agent and an assistant and a clerk, do you need all those positions?
That's what I was going to ask you, because
So-
I'm going to admit that there's, I got to get familiar with some of these things, and to tell you the truth, I wouldn't even know what a purchasing agent does. To be completely
They do
honest.
all of the bidding that goes out, any bidding for jobs, any RFPs, requests for proposals. They
Now-
have to publish those, get all that information in. There's a specific day that those are opened
All right.
in front of the public.
Now, you just said, though, that they're not currently listed. There's no line item for them.
Well,
specifically. They're not.
it should have a vacancy for an assistant. If this one is acting and she gets the job as permanent, then there needs to be an assistant there. And if you're paying somebody as acting, but there's no money there, the money that you're paying her to act is not what you're probably going to have to pay to get a purchasing agent.
No, I believe it was you or somebody had mentioned, though, how is DOR going to look at that?
Well, I mentioned that because it's not only the purchasing agent. Let's jump over to the assessors. Brad Kilby left, correct? And there was an individual who's worked there who now is in the acting capacity. Got a little bit more money, but acting. However, in that line item, there is a space, there is an appropriation in that whole, within that department for an assessor too. So if that person gets the job, great. If that person doesn't, then there's a position there to backfill, and then you're going to hire an assessor. However, you're probably not going to hire an assessor for the price that you're paying somebody in that acting capacity.
Now, this comes about, though.
And then in the treasurer's department, you're having a part-time treasurer for $80,000, but there's no position there for treasurer. How do you think that DOR looks at a city like Fall River that has no purchasing agent, no treasurer, and no assessor? Now, let's flip and go over to the engineering department. You know how many things are built in the city and work that's done in engineering? It's a big job. We have a city engineer, Mr. Holmes, who is leaving. He's retiring. And he's going to get a certain percentage of money, and he's going to be working part-time, working from home, helping out. But an engineer's position is very important in a city like this. But there's no money in the budget to hire a full-time engineer. Those issues concern me.
Well, these issues all, I would say, go to one of my questions where they all revolve around how you said, like, previously there would have been more of a bulk to the budget where these people would have been technically placed, and the reasons, correct me if I'm wrong, but the reasons they're not right now is because this year is the first year we've started with a zero-based budget.
That's a bunch of baloney,
That's what I
zero-based
wanted to hear your
budgeting.
comment
Please.
on. What's your
Please, zero-based budgeting takes a couple of years to do. I think the concept is good, and I think doing it and moving forward with it is great.
Can you hold on a second? Let me,
However-
ladies and gentlemen, wait. Hold on. Explain
Okay.
what you mean by that, because I'm not. What do you mean by it takes X amount of
It
years
takes
to implement?
time. You can't just come in and cut everything.
Oh, you mean how it should be implemented?
Right.
Okay. So
I mean, things don't get implemented quickly and think that they're going to work. You really, and I applaud the mayor for trying to move and do things, but you've got to dot your I's and cross your T's, because if you don't, down the road, you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Well, the issues that you brought up, I'll say are legitimate issues. So there's nothing. I agree that if there's certain things that need to be instituted or have been instituted, positions, in other words, and work that needs to be done, that is something that needs to be addressed. But what you had just said about how it would be difficult, I don't know if you've heard anything different, but then what would be your take on the comments that I know Councilor Joe Camara had pointed out last night, that he's heard from the fire chief, the police chief, and all these people that this is one of the easiest budgets they've had to deal with. We haven't had the threat of no police. Our streets are going to burn. And
How could you have a threat of getting rid of anybody in the fire department when this city has a SAFER grant and you have to keep a certain staffing level to be eligible for the SAFER grant?
Well, that's what we've been threatened, at least the last two budgets I've seen.
Well, I mean, Mrs. Vivera's threatened, not this meeting, the meeting before, if this doesn't pass, then we could lose police and fire. And I'm tired of being threatened.
But that's what I mean.
But there's no threat to that.
Have you talked to the...
Police and fire are fine. Their budgets were good.
Right.
No problem with their budgets. Do I wish that we could get more police? Absolutely, especially in the summertime. I absolutely wish we could get more.
Sun's out, guns out.
Exactly, but
it gets real.
but I think that with the police department that you have,
yeah,
they do the best job that they can. They truly do. I mean, I happen to work with police officers because of my regular daytime job, and I work with police officers throughout the entire county. And their job is not easy, and they do a phenomenal job with what they have to do.
Okay, but so in other words, my point though was the fact that you had mentioned there are these other issues, and councils like Councilor Cabaceres has pointed out the potential for when we have to, if we don't have a certain amount of free cash or lack of a better word, playable cash, movable cash, that there could be issues that come around later, emergencies, in other words, that could happen where if we don't have this extra cash. But so again, I want to ask you the confusion, because I get this. So I'm saying it's a valid argument. So this isn't me dismissing it. It's a valid argument. But then what happens with the opposite, where I feel like for the last, again, I've only been paying attention to this stuff locally. I've said before, federally, ladies and gentlemen, been paying attention for years. But locally, I finally grasped that whole think globally, act locally. It's clicked. So in the last, 3 years now, paying attention locally, I feel like the last couple budgets, we've all been frustrated at this maneuvering of money. There's always been pockets of money here, then it shifts to there, shifts to there.
There's always money that does that. For example, in a lot of the budgets.
I've heard the rumor that there's still a ton that's kind of just, not a ton, that's too much, that's a strong word. But there's still.
No, there's really not. Honestly, there's really not. It's a tight budget. There's really
I meant the whole pockets, but that's why I said I downgraded
like sometimes
my
you'll have. Sometimes you'll have vacant positions within certain departments, and if those positions aren't filled by the end of the year, then that money.
But isn't that like game we've been playing?
Well, it's not a game you play because sometimes you do need to hire those positions.
Sometimes, but they've taken
honestly,
advantage of it.
I think, let's go to the park department.
Yep.
When you have 6 employees at the park department, how many parks do we have? A lot of parks, right? How do you expect 6 people to take care of all of that? It's difficult. And they do it, and sometimes they do it, and they have to be paid overtime to do it. Is the overtime more beneficial than hiring another 1 or 2 people? What's the cost factor? Because if you hire somebody, now you're paying a salary, you're paying a pension, you're paying health insurance, et cetera. So you have to weigh that out and see what's best. I've suggested getting seasonal workers. If you had seasonal workers, that could help. That could help out. And years ago, too, you had programs like the CETA program and programs where you'd have youth that would come and they would help out as well. And I think that's a great thing. But when you don't get the money to do that, then that can't be done. But let me give you another example of things that are concerning to me. You have the new position that was created, or the new division that was created of Buildings and Grounds. And out of that, it's like $160,000 in money to complete projects, et cetera. I don't really think that that's enough of money. Do you know how much it is if you had to call somebody in for a HAVOC system, or you can't do everything in-house. There are certain specialties that you have to go out for. And Mr. Pacheco said it. I mean, is this enough money? So we'll basically glue and
who's coming up with that? Is that just in the budget and it's placed there, or now that Ken Pacheco's in that position, is he coming up with this number?
It's the budget that's there. It's the number that's there. And I just don't think that it's enough. You're not going to pass a budget today and then in a couple of months come down to the council and now want bonds for all these capital improvement projects and more bonds and more. How do you want all these bonds?
Okay, now
because what are we going to run a city on credit cards? I mean, bonding is good and bad. There's got to be a balance.
Right, but that gets down to the
There's a balance.
Okay, now bouncing off that though, how you're saying that there's going to be this issue with how much money is available to whatever. What is your take on? And there was a lot of talk about this last night. What is your take on if this budget does not go through, and now we have all this talk of the 1/12 budget situation? So what's your take on the whole possibility of the 1/12 budget taking effect this go around? Because again, in the time that I've been paying attention, I feel like there's not a good metaphor, but it was this 1/12 thing was used all the time as a threat. And now all of a sudden I feel like everybody's just comfortable with it. And I don't understand where the difference is. I know Kathy Ann was trying to explain, I think it might have been Councilor Long that asked, I might be wrong, but I think it was Councilor Long asked, what would be the possibility of, what danger lies if we go into a 1/12 budget? And other than the school department, which is not a small thing, but other than the school department, I don't think I think she made like there wouldn't be this huge threat from it, as opposed to every other budget.
It's not a good, no, it's not a good thing to do. You don't want to do a 1/12 budget. I don't want to do a 1/12 budget.
Right.
But I want to make sure that the budget is funded enough that services are being provided as well. Let me give you an example. In DCM, okay, what's left of DCM if you take away the privatization piece,
We're going to get into that in a
there's
little bit.
$60,000 or $68,000 for overtime. Now, do you know how many feasts, festivals, civic events that we have? They're usually on the weekend or on holidays.
Yep.
And you have men that have to go out and they clean up after that. Is that enough of money? What did we spend this year? Just this past Saturday, there was a cleanup at Cook Pond. Some of our guys were there. There was a festival at Gates of the City. Some of our guys were there. You had the rowing boat competition down on the waterfront. Some of our guys were there. So you had to pay 6 men overtime to go out. Just in keeping Lewiston Street open on a Saturday, you need 3 men. You need a driver, a foreman, and a laborer. That cost you $400. Take $400, let's say 50 Saturdays, because maybe 2 Saturdays they're closed. That's 20 grand.
Right.
So if you're decreasing that by 30,000, people need to get the services that they pay for too.
Now, ultimately, though, what you're pointing out is the fact that bills are over here and the revenue coming in is over here. So that now brings me to my next question. This is the same thing that we've had, again, since I've been paying attention, and from everybody I've talked to, it's been going on since before me. I'm sure you could probably attest to this, that this has been an issue for a while. And what I always hear, but I feel like people are afraid to touch, is what is your feeling then on trying to go forward and put through to the citizens, or put forth in front of the citizens the possibility of a 2.5 override? And for everybody out there who might not understand, the whole point is right now the way it's set up is you cannot tax over a 2.5% increase every year. But again, if we're trying to come up, in my opinion, I've said it to you before, and other people have said this plenty of times, a lot of these things we've had, pay as you throw, the $10 fee, and all these things, these are like backdoor ways to get around a 2.5. Would you agree to that? Or?
I would agree to that.
Okay.
I would agree to that.
If that's the case, and everyone
because the
understands
city needs this much revenue.
we need this much revenue, and we got this much. I mean,
Yep.
we need this much, and we don't have it. So, but why is it no one then just comes out and tries to put that on the table and explain it to the citizens that that's the only way we're going to get this revenue?
I've said that at a few places that I've been at, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as a homeowner, if you are paying a certain amount in taxes, that's deducted from your income tax when you file your income tax, right? So your taxes come off. A lot of these other fees don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it would be more beneficial because at least you'd be able to deduct that.
Right.
Some people could deduct that.
Right.
And it wouldn't be such a burden on tenants as well.
But I believe during the last the debates, the council
I just don't think
debates,
it'll pass.
I agree, but I mean, as long
I don't
I
think
feel
it'll
like if
pass.
more people put it out there as this is what's going on, I think we'd have less confusion as to why do we have the, because there's been so many people. This is what happens, in my opinion. We have the arguments about what we're going to do with trash, but you just stated, because it's true, the reason we had things like the purple bags and the $10 fee is to make up for revenue. So if we have to make up for revenue and people understood that better, maybe the citizens' focus would focus more in on what the actual problems
Well,
are.
even on the bags. I mean, on the bags so far, we've generated, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 2.1 million that we brought in. But in the budget, it's estimated
At which point? When we were at 90% or when we were at 60%?
Well, but now it's at 3.3.
Yeah.
So is that a realistic figure that we're going to get that? Well, with enforcement, we will. We had enforcement when that company, Waste Zero, came in. They had enforcement people in the beginning
We had
as
enforcement
well.
people. And we've never
Right.
had enforcement.
No.
We've had enforcement people, which, whatever, they were on, I believe, a grant, right? Or through
I mean,
Waste
I've
Zero
also
to
had
pay for
somebody
them.
say to me, you know what, if the city of Fall River said we're out of the trash business, everybody has to get their own private to come in.
Right.
How would that work? Well, that's an option.
But
That's an option. I don't think that, I think it would be a little crazy. We'd have trucks all over the place and whose routes, and it might be difficult.
okay, well, see, now I wanted to get into things, but now you're going to make me actually, you're targeting my question better. So
Oh,
now basically
okay.
you're segueing me well into the whole privatization and what's going on with the DCM, I guess, but in reality, just our transport. Because right now, if I'm wrong, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're strictly talking about, it comes to the transportation of our trash, like pickup pickup and delivery, right? The other contracts that are out there, as far as with what happens with our recycling or where it's going, the actual facilities, these are different separate contracts.
Okay, the recycling, we have a contract with Casella. Okay, let me tell you about Casella. About maybe 5 years ago, I was approached by some of the people from Casella who wanted to build a state-of-the-art facility right in Industrial Park. They would have purchased the blue bins for the entire city, picked up our recyclables, and they would have had a single stream recycling plant. When the bin was lifted, there's a barcode and it would weigh the recyclables. And then you could go online and you could get coupons to Lowe's, Home Depot, neighboring restaurants, whatever. I couldn't get a second to talk about that. Casella ended up in Auburn. We ship our stuff to Casella. So there was an opportunity where we wouldn't have had to pay for the bins. We had to take a bond out to get the blue bins and the green bins, which we kind of had to do because there was an awful problem with rodents. And these bins seem to work. Everybody likes them. You know, there's less litter on the streets around the bins, tipping. So that's one issue that I look at, okay? You have a contract with Republic because there was land there and Republic is cleaning the contamination of the land, a couple of acres on the side. We are using their transfer station for X amount of years. I believe it's 3 more years we have with them. So whoever comes in to do a proposal on picking up trash, and it's only to pick up trash. We're still going to pay the disposal. The city's still going to pay the disposal. It's just to pick up trash. That's it. Now, do you know if they're picking up yard waste weekly, bi-weekly? Do you know that?
There's people out there who are going to be mad if we bring up yard waste because there's people still waiting for them. I keep getting these messages from these people.
Mine's been there for 2 weeks. Mine's been there for 2 weeks
and there's still people waiting on the bin itself. I don't want to get into all that right now because
no. Let's get into it.
Well,
you know what I said? If you picked up that you wanted a bin and it's not coming, I've had people call me, Linda, I have a truck. I'll go pick it up. Why not? Sign it off. They picked it up.
Yeah. Well.
But now it's overtime money to get people to deliver the bins.
Well,
and then you have to assemble the bin and put the top. Danny Rigo made a good point years ago. He said, we should have had the same color bin and the covers should have been different because then it would have been easier.
Okay.
That makes sense. We should have done that.
It would be cheaper, I guess, to probably...
Yeah, I think it would have been.
All right, again, the only reason I got to be careful on time here, I'm at probably realistically 4 minutes on this stuff because then I got to get into the fan favorite in a little bit. But I'm sure you know, because one of the big issues coming about from this whole privatization is the public opinion. There's going to be the people who are for it and against it for various reasons, but the strong reasons that come out as pros and cons and becomes a contentious issue is the fact that basically what it seems like is there's a lot of people who are trying to save the lives of about 23 individuals in comparison.
24, and it's not about that at all. For
that's
me,
what I want you to clarify because
for me, it's not about that at all.
You do understand that's what, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
all right, this is what everybody, well, not everybody. That's what I'm saying. The people who are for it and against it, the ones who are looking at it like what the heck's going on with, and who support privatization, are looking at the argument as it's not. This isn't you. This is councilors who I think who are all against the privatization. It feels like everybody who's against the ones who are for it are going to say that there's apparent savings because I also understand. It's not crystal clear the savings. So
no, it's not.
I will validate that. So now but from what everybody's perspective of why people would be against it, mostly what it sounds like they're hearing is it's just, like I said, trying to save the lives of about 20-something people compared to the city's budget. This is what it looks like to them. So what do you say to that?
I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on it, okay? My opinion is not the jobs that are there. Do I feel bad for the people that are there that are going to lose a job? Yes, I do. However, I think that any company that comes in, that could have been part of it, is that, you know, you maintain the staff that we have. You're going to have to hire more people, maintain our staff. If people don't work out, aren't following through, then you're not doing your job, you'll be let go. However, give them an opportunity to shift people over to different divisions. In other words, take somebody from DCM and put them over to the park department or another department, the new building and ground department. That could be $5, $6, $7 less an hour. Maybe the person can't afford that.
Yeah, but that's what
maybe they have to go on. Get things with the career center and other things to help those people locate a job, locate
But what I'm
different
saying
jobs.
is that's what I mean. It's still
It's not the
focusing
jobs. It's not the jobs. This is what it is. The mayor received 4 proposals. He gives at the council meeting, and he said, I have 4 proposals. I have one from Sunrise Scavenger. I have one from Republic. I have one from Easy and Capital. First of all, I said Easy and Capital are the same owners. No, they're not. Well, yeah, they are. Go on the Secretary of State's website and look up Easy and look up Capital, and you'll see it's the same owners. One's unionized, one's not. It's the same owners. And then the contract from Republic, I contacted Republic. I received a letter from them. They did not put in a proposal. I have to make decisions on behalf of the people that reside in this city. That's what I was elected for. And I need to have truthful information all the time. And to show a letter that I was duped. We had a proposal. There wasn't a proposal. The numbers that they used and the numbers that they gave the union during these negotiations were the numbers from Bruce Stannis, who worked at Republic before, had done a vague proposal when Mike Mioza and myself, we were on this committee to look at trash. We were on an environmental committee to look at different aspects, but then they did this trash committee. I think Danny Botello was on it. Several people were on it.
Trash-tastic task force.
Task force.
Yeah.
Well, that ended up being numbers that Bruce Stannis gave. They used those numbers and added a certain percentage every year. That's not being honest. That's what I resent. I have never had a meeting to say, this is what it's going to cost us for salaries, for pensions, for insurance, et cetera, et cetera. This is our total. And with this company, this is what it's going to cost, and this is our total. And to sign a contract for 10 years, come on, Mike.
Well,
look at the technology that you have seen in 10 years.
I understand that, but okay, I'm on a clock, so hold on.
Oh,
I want to get one. No, that's fine. You're actually
Go ahead.
doing all right. There's one other city council. Next time he comes here, I'll say it. I don't care. Steve Kamara. Next time Steve Kamara is here, he's going to have a poking stick, because, my God, the biography that would come out off of one question. Steve.
He's worked it. He's lived everywhere.
I
in the
know,
city.
but he wants to get it all out in one shot. It's like, I respect it, but I'm on a half-hour show. So, all right. I want to get to one point quick, because I only have, but I have to do this in about a minute if you can. And I know it's going to be hard, but I know one of the strongest things now you and I believe at least maybe 2 other councils are pushing is the fact that this is going to be contested, or it is being contested with the union. And you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're pushing the fact that your understanding is that it's not going to go well for the city of Fall River, and that the unions are basically your theory or your guess is that the unions are going to win this fight, having to do with the contract situation. Am I correct?
Mike, when I tell you that the paper that the union got had a list of what Sunrise was their projected costs, and a list from Republic, and if Republic didn't even put in a proposal, that in itself is problematic. Look at New Bedford, what happened with them and what they paid. Okay,
right.
So either we're going to, if we get out of the contract with Easy, it's $798,000. Okay, if we stick with them, and then all of a sudden you get hit with the union, and you're going to have to pay them. Either way, it's a cost to the taxpayers.
All right, but here's my volley off that though. Here's my confusion. I'm going to just read it off so I can get this out quick. Similarly to Ken Pacheco and most recently Meg Mayo Brown, I've seen a lot of councilors make it clear to point out publicly their praise for Judge Joe Macy. There's a lot of times where everybody's basically just giving high regard to Judge Joe Macy. Now my confusion is, why is it that even though Joe, in other words, what you just said, you're making like we have a weak chance in this fight, but every time I've seen Joe Macy come out, he's said that we have solid ground to stand on with this. So what I don't understand is, in other words, if everybody is praising Judge Joe Macy on his experience and his knowledge, he's the one who's come out publicly and said at the council meetings that when asked, it shouldn't be, there's no issue. He doesn't see an issue, that we followed through with everything we're supposed to follow through. So where's the disconnect? That
he's no longer a judge, and he's not the one that's going to make the determination.
All right.
So,
listen, I didn't even get to. Listen, if you're a fan of the show, go to the facebook.com/thenecessarymedia. I'm going to put the No Flex Zone award winner up on there. It will be edited into this show for the YouTube version, so go on youtube.com/thenecessarymedia. And thanks everybody out there for coming.
Thanks, Mike, for having me.
See you next week, and thank you, Linda, for being on. Again, half-hour show, so everybody out there.
Yeah. Wow.
I did what I could.
Wow,
I
half
believe-
hour.
I know, goes by quick. Like I said, see what we can do, people. Get this up.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. Knock on your neighbor's door. Let's go. Let's go, Fall River. Yeah, like I said.